Then move on.
Not don't do that. No, I wonder if he'll let us by. Go closer so he knows we're trying to get by.
I don't think there's anywhere to get by.
Maybe somewhere I could pull out of the way. Doesn't mean he must come up and turn around.
Did us a favor there.
He's clearing the way. It's not very nice filming the back of him, is it?
No, it's like trying to stay off the back of him.
Yeah.
It gives you a good proportion, though, of the width of the road.
Right. Well, that wasn't bad, was it, sweetie?
In 300 yards, turn left and then immediately turn left. In 200 yards, turn left and then immediately turn left.
Oh, there's the Ford there, Ash.
Mm-hmm.
He's going through it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen that before, haven't we?
This bridge.
Now turn left and then immediately turn left. Now turn left and then turn right. In 50 yards, turn right. Now turn right.
My mommy says I have to use bridges. I can't use forts.
Not today.
Well, what can I say? We are headed, or well, actually, we are headed for the Shepherdess on day 13 of our adventure. I hope you enjoyed our little sneak around the Binman. Anyways, so we were off to visit Alison on her sheep farm, and she had made us scones with tea, and we had homemade Battenberg that was made by a lady in Hawes, and we actually went through Hawes to get to the sheep farm. And then she told us about her sheep and how she ended up sheep farming and how she went from being a meat sheep farmer to now being a fleece sheep farmer. So it's a tenant farm, and so next year she hopefully gets chosen to re-sign her lease for another 10 years. So we'll cross our fingers for Alison. And yeah, so all of her sheep are sheared once a year for their fleeces, and they're made into wool, which then gets turned into various products by local artisans and then sold. She also will sell you a raw or wash fleece or just the yarn. What do they get turned into? There's a local artisan that like weaves the yarn into dog leads, and there were various dog leads. Unfortunately, not having a dog, I didn't see the point in buying a raw wool dog lead, but there we go. And all of her sheep have names. Her oldest last week was about 22. Unfortunately, that sheep passed away. And now her oldest lady sheep is about 19. Then we got to feed some of the lambs and old man Albert. And she also goes on country walks and yoga retreats for people and like cold plunges and all sorts of things. Oh, there goes the phone. She was a very interesting lady, and my fingers are crossed for her that she gets her lease renewed next year. So here come the sheep, and then we'll get to Hutton in the forest.
moving right along. Woo! No. Hello, doggy.
Okay. Fishes.
Told the story about how she was named after my mum, and they put her in there, which was lovely. Here, come on, Cliff, here, come, Cliff, no, come here, good girl. They're like thinking, are we going to get fed? Well, unfortunately not, because you know what you did last week. Come on. So she's thinking, have you got the bucket milk? Good girl. Hey! The one coming behind is a boy. Yeah. And he's called Kevin.
Oh, here comes Kevin.
Yeah, the bigger one behind. Come on! The night country. Stay there. Come on! Remember I told you about herd whips? See the white one is slight limp. That's Beatrix. Come on, Bee. Oh, see the big one there? That's Ruby, the big fleece. Yeah. And that's Betty, the black one. She's the one that dropped the woman when she had the bucket. Okay. That's Black Betty. Now Betty is the same breed as these, but she's a throwback to the jeans. That's Beatrix. Of course, over on the left is a tiny bit of a limp, but not. That's Frida, named after my mum. She's got a little lump in her mouth, but she's going to see the vet the next day. Come on! Come on! slowly they make their way.
Rain actually, because my allergies are less intense. But there's a bit of rain. I mean, my feet are a bit wet, but...
Well, actually, we didn't get the mucky as I expected.
No.
And I would have quite liked to peek at what he was doing, but it was time we got going. Yeah, it was. We've got to go somewhere. Page 230. Hutton in the Forest.
And I'll take a Kleenex when you have a moment.
I loved it when she called the sheep and they came trotting.
I know, it's so cute. And then they got there and they're like, well, you don't have the bucket, Mom.
Yeah. What's the idea?
Mom, where's the bucket?
Yeah. We'll send the onions. She's not as out in the wilds as I thought she would be, given that she's quite close to Sedberg. But I fancy she doesn't know she's in Britain.
Yeah, that's funny.
And I can send her that one. Have you heard of that Fair Isle knitter that she was talking
No,
about?
I hadn't. No, but I did follow her on Instagram.
Yeah.
I should message her and be like, do you need a test knitter? Post me wool and the pattern.
Well, in a way, the fact that you do knit and stuff
Oh,
does
yeah.
show Alison that we have a genuine interest in knowing about we don't have a door for her.
No.
Welcome to Hutton in the Forest. The family still live in the home, which I think is a wonderful thing, but also means that you're not allowed to take pictures in the home. Let's call it a home. Obviously, for insurance purposes, you're not allowed to take pictures in the home because it makes it harder to remember everything, but I'll share with you what we know. It belonged to the Fletcher Vane family from 1605 until 1931, when it became the property of the Barons of Inglewood, who were distant relatives of the Fletcher Vanes. Originally a medieval stronghold, still with its original peel tower, the family have altered and made additions to the house inside and out, which show a wide range of decorative styles from the 17th century to the present day. The gallery dates from the 1630s and contains early furniture and portraits. The hall, built in 1680, is dominated by the Cupid staircase, which leads to a suite of mid-18th century rooms, including the Cupid room. One of the barons very much enjoyed Cupids, so there was a theme there for sure. The drawing room dates from around 1830, and the library from 1870, and Lady Darlington's room is decorated in the arts and crafts style. The walled garden was built in the 1730s, and there was quite a bit going on through the house, as it was a bit of a rabbit warren with all of the different additions and making the ceilings taller, which made the rooms above smaller, and you had to duck your head and all that kind of things. And I think I'd still be wandering around there to this day if I hadn't had a guide. I'm just going to look a quick piece of information up because I think it's very interesting to know about. So hold on 2 seconds. We got to the arts and crafts style room, one of the first ones in Hutton in the forest, and our tour guide was telling us about I think it was Lady Darlington, but I'm not 100% sure. She was telling us about someone who had lived at Hutton on the Forest, and she'd married her husband, and they didn't get along very well, and of course they had separated, and in separating, she of course needed something to do, so she was actually a very accomplished artist, and she was telling us that she did help Josiah Wedgwood design some of the Jasper ware designs that are his blue and white kind of neoclassical ancient Greek depictions that are on a lot of his products from the era, and of course are still used today, but I can't find any sources to back that up. So whether or not that's true, I'm not sure. I have looked it up. I've tried to Google it and nothing's coming up. So anyways, there's a bit of a tie to Wedgwood, possibly. It's hard to know how true some of these things are that you're told by the guides of the houses, but I tried to find it. I promise, I tried. I couldn't find anything concrete, though, unfortunately, so please don't take that as fact. Take it with a grain of salt. Having finished at Hutton in the forest, we had a mere 117-mile or 2-hour drive up from Cumbria to Edinburgh in the rain, the whole time coming straight for us. So we didn't really film a lot. I think I started filming again once we reached Edinburgh because it had stopped raining the same amount, but I could hardly see where I was driving, so there's no point in us all having that problem for the next 2 hours, was there? We arrived safely in Edinburgh to the W in St. James Square, and we then had a tempting tatty for dinner. Mine had like mince and sour cream and all sorts of delicious things on my hot spud, and Mum had a simple butter one. There is a picture of my spud coming to tempt you. Very delicious. Glad we walked there and back in the rain, and that the spud was still hot when we got it back to the room with my cider. So delicious. All right, and then we're going to start on day 14 because I've got a decent amount to say about day 14. And here we are on day 14 in Edinburgh, waking up at the W. We had a smashing breakfast, and then it was off to Holyrood Castle. By the time we got there, one of us was almost soaked through, and by the time we got back, one of us was entirely soaked through. So there's a new raincoat on order for Mother because her raincoat simply strains the rain before soaking you, whereas I did buy a new one last year after getting soaked through in my raincoat to upgrade to one that just flecks it off and actually keeps you dry. So, as we watch driving through Edinburgh, I will tell you about Holyrood Palace. You cannot take pictures inside again of this as it is still a well-used palace when Charles is in the area for about a week every summer. King Charles, I should say, or a member of the royal family. So you can watch Edinburgh while I tell you about Holyrood, and there will be some pictures of Holyrood in a second, but again, like I said, there's nothing taken on the inside. I've gone for the highlights of the history, as there is a lot of history associated with this building. It's hard to say, should we have gone with the architecture or the people living there? Who knows? You pick. And you have the ability to learn stuff on your own as well. So like I said, we got fairly drenched in walking there and back, and it was our only visit today. We were gonna go and see the stone pineapple, but we said no more driving in the rain, so there it was, no more driving in the rain. So the ruined Augustinian Holyrood Abbey that stands next to the palace was founded in 1128 on the orders of King David I. The name comes from either a legendary vision of the cross witnessed by David I or from a relic of the true cross known as Holyrood or Blackrood, which had belonged to David's mother, Margaret. Saint Margaret, there she is. As a royal foundation and sited close to Edinburgh Castle, it became an important administrative centre. A papal legate was received here in 1177, while in 1189 a group of nobles met to discuss a ransom for the captive William the Lion. of Scotland met at the abbey 7 times between 1256 and 1410, and in 1328 they signed the Treaty of Edinburgh, indicating that it may have already been a royal residence. In 1371, David II became the first of several kings to be buried at Holyrood Abbey. James II was born, crowned, married, and buried here. James III and Margaret of Denmark were married here in 1469, and between 1501 and 1505, James IV constructed a Gothic palace adjacent to the abbey. The palace was built around a quadrangle, with the Queen's apartments occupying part of the south range. The west range contained the king's lodgings and the entrance to the palace. James V added to the palace between 1528 and 1536, beginning with the James V Tower, which is the oldest surviving part of the palace that is seen today. Apart from the ruined abbey, of course, but it's in ruins as opposed to an actual structure. This provided new royal lodgings at the northwest corner of the palace. Originally equipped with a drawbridge leading to the main entrance, it may have also had a moat. The old Queen's apartments were converted into a new chapel, and the old one was made into the council chamber. The west range was demolished, and a new Renaissance-style side was built onto the house and new staterooms, including a royal library. The royal apartments of James V's Tower were occupied by Mary Queen of Scots from her return to Scotland in 1561 until her abdication in 1567. James VI was in residence at Holyrood in 1603 when the news was delivered that Elizabeth I had died 2 days earlier, and that James now was the King of England, Ireland, and Scotland. As he moved to London, the palace was no longer the seat of a permanent royal court, and following the restoration of Charles II in 1660, Holyrood once again became a royal palace and the meeting place of the reconstituted Privy Council. After the union of Scotland and England in 1707, the palace lost some of its principal functions. Today, the British monarch spends 1 week, known as Royal Week, at the palace each summer, and it is all extremely very fascinating, and we are lucky to get to see these places. Please, 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 if you're interested, don't just listen to me talk about them. Read about them, find out about them. There's a lot of history here to condense into. This isn't as a short format video as we anticipate from me, but, you know, there's just so much to learn. So read, find out about it. Anyways, today is my last full day of adventuring in Scotland, and tomorrow or Saturday is travel day, and I'm just thankful that I only have about a 45-minute jaunt to the airport and not a 4-hour drive to the airport like I have done that I did twice last year. Golly. Because I would drive 4 hours to the airport, so you'd be up at 2, have breakfast, leave by 3, drive a couple of hours, 45-minute nap, drive a couple more hours, and by that point, in Canadian terms, Alberta terms, you could drive from Calgary to Jasper. So I'm very grateful for the fact that I'm already in Edinburgh. All I have to do is wake up, jump in the car, drive to the airport and say howdy hello to everybody and get back to Calgary. So you'll also see some landing in Calgary, and there we are. I'll tell you quickly about travel day, because travel day was entertaining to say the least. Got mum off. Well, we went and we had breakfast. We got mum off to the train station. Breakfast again was delicious. The views were stunning. The sun was shining. Everything was lovely. Got mum off to the train station. I went back to the hotel, packed all my stuff out, checked out, had valet bring around the car, jumped in the car, went and filled the car up with petrol. They moved Avis, where you return your car. They moved it about 6 weeks ago. And of course, it wasn't where it was last August when I took a car back. So that was our first snaffle in the morning. Then I walked over to the airport, and there was a massive queue at the airport. And luckily I didn't get in this queue because it wasn't the queue that I needed. And they've moved WestJet in Edinburgh Airport as well. So that took me about 20 minutes to find. Then the same lady who checked my security details the last 2 times I've been in Edinburgh checked it again this year. So her and I had a delightful chat, and it was nice to see her again. And I was informed when I got to the airport that Friday night around 18:50 that Edinburgh Airport had been closed due to a suspicious package. So the entire airport had been evacuated, which was still causing issues into Saturday. And they were running kind of on less staff than normal because the evacuation and needing staff to assist with that the night before. There were also police officers at the roundabout where you took your car back, directing traffic because of the Royal Highland show that was happening. And we were supposed to set off at 12:50. I don't think we got off the ground until 1:50 because, as we were told later on in the flight, there was an issue with getting food onto the airplane, which I think all stems from evacuating the airplane the night before. Oh, and remember that line I talked about before? Yeah, it was for security. So that was fun. And then what else? Oh, and then once we got to Calgary, there was lightning overhead in Calgary, which then meant that there was no ground crew in Calgary. So there's no ground crew to get us over to the bridge and get the bridge attached to the plane, and so we had to wait for that. So it was about an hour and a bit on the plane waiting for the bridge, and then finally got bridge, and ground crew disappeared again, and then finally we managed to get into the airport and go through customs and do all that shenanigans. And then, of course, with there being no ground crew, we had to wait about another 45 minutes for the bags, and there were about 8 airplanes worth of bags needing to get from the planes to the carousels. So that was travel day. Finally got home and then went to pottery. So have a fun day. I'll talk to you soon. And this was way shorter than I thought it was going to be. So we will see you anon. Thanks again for coming along with me on this journey. Bye.